This Florida politician makes $100,000 a year off property tax money. And if that's not bad enough, she also sits on the state committee that's in charge of property tax reform. This is a huge conflict of interest and nobody's talking about it. In this video, I'll show you how the politician who's supposed to be cutting your property taxes is actually cashing six-figure checks off them. How one county commissioner tried to shut it all down, but the swamp said no. And how Governor Ron DeSantis just uncovered $1 billion in waste that'll eliminate your property taxes. Let's jump in. It all starts in Hillsborough County. That's where Tampa is. The state representative for that area is Diane Hart, and she sits on the House Select Committee on Property Tax Reform. That committee's job? To figure out if Florida should eliminate property taxes on homestead properties, or your primary home, which is awesome, and I'm actually really excited about this because if they succeed, it would be a massive win for Floridians. Because right now you never truly own your home, you just rent it from the government forever in the form of property taxes. You stop paying, they take your house. Even if it's fully paid off, the government is basically the biggest landlord in the country. So Representative Hart is supposed to be playing a key role in ending homestead property taxes. Or is she? Here's the problem. According to the Florida Division of Corporations, Diane is the CEO of a nonprofit called the East Tampa Business Civic Association, or ETBCA. In 2022, they changed the name to East Tampa Business and Community Development Alliance. So I'm going to use both names. Now, let's follow the money. In 2020, according to her Form 6, that's her public financial disclosure, she made $59,000 from ETBCA. And in 2022, she reported $120,000 from her consulting company, DL Hart Consulting. Not sure if that's tied to ETBCA or not. In 2023, she disclosed ETBCA paid her $150,000 for consulting, and in 2024, she reported another $115,000 from the East Tampa Business and Community Development Alliance. Same nonprofit, just under the new name. And I want to be perfectly clear. There's nothing illegal about this. She's disclosed everything, done it right, and I'm sure her nonprofit does great work in the community. But I'm just going to lay out the facts and show you the enormous conflict of interest. So here's where things get a little shady. According to Hillsborough County's 2026 budget, page 361, her nonprofit received $99,999 in 2024, $100,000 in 2025, and is scheduled to get another $100,000 for the next 2 years. So right now she's personally profiting about $100,000 a year from property taxes through her nonprofit, which raises the obvious question. How serious could she really be about giving Floridians property tax relief? This is all legal, yeah, but that's the problem. To me, this looks like a giant conflict of interest, and I don't think she should be on the House Select Committee on Property Tax Reform if she's receiving money that's tied to property taxes. Honestly, I don't think any elected official should be making money from nonprofits that receive taxpayer funding, because at that point, who are they really working for? Their community or their paycheck? And how many other politicians are doing the same thing? And here's the bottom line. If property taxes get eliminated, her $100,000 a year paycheck from that nonprofit disappears. Do you honestly think she's going to vote to cut off her own gravy train? I doubt it. And last year, Hillsborough County actually had a chance to stop this exact kind of thing. Commissioner Joshua Wostall introduced what he called the Honest Abe Ordinance. The idea was pretty simple. No more politicians or county employees funneling taxpayer money into their own nonprofits or businesses. If you're in office, you shouldn't be cutting checks to yourself or your buddies. No self-dealing, no sweetheart contracts, just basic protection for the people paying the bills, the taxpayers. The ordinance would have banned elected officials from steering money to groups that they were tied to. It also covered county employees, making sure that no one inside government was quietly cashing in while pretending to serve the public. And it went even further, a 6-year ban after leaving office to stop the revolving door game where politicians cash out the second they step down. In other words, the ordinance was designed to shut the door on exactly the kind of conflict of interest we're seeing with Diane Hart. But when it came time to vote, it failed. The tally was 3-4. Wostall, Cameron, and Cepeda voted yes, but Cohen, Kemp, Hagan, and Myers voted no. Think about that. This wasn't some debate in Tallahassee. This was right here in Hillsborough County, the very same county that Diane Hart represents in the Florida House. The commissioners had a chance to close the loophole and end the profits, and instead, they left it wide open. So why? Why would 4 commissioners vote against an ordinance that protected taxpayers? There's really no logical reason, unless you want to keep the system exactly the way it is, and that's the point. When push came to shove, these commissioners sided with the insiders, and taxpayers, they got left holding the bag, while Diane's nonprofit is set up on autopilot for the next 2 years. And her nonprofit isn't the only red flag. Hillsborough has a nonprofit problem. Back in 2019, the county was funding maybe 50 to 60 nonprofits. Fast forward to today, and that number has basically doubled to around 120. That's not growth, that's bloat. And here's the crazy part. The commissioners themselves get to pick which nonprofits get funded. There's no independent oversight, no accountability, just politicians handing out millions of your dollars like it's monopoly money. So how do these nonprofits get on the list? They fill out a form. They don't have to prove they're effective. They don't have to show measurable results. All they have to do is cozy up to a commissioner, make their pitch, and hope for a yes vote. That's it. And if you're asking yourself whether there's waste, fraud, or abuse in that system, you already know the answer. And here's a fun fact. Did you know that Hillsborough has had over 100 nonprofits on autopilot for the last 30 years? That means they just keep getting funded year after year without anyone stopping to ask, hey, is this nonprofit actually doing what it promised? It's like setting up a subscription you forgot to cancel, except this one bleeds millions in tax dollars every single year. Over the last 10 years, Hillsborough County has given over $250 million of property tax money to nonprofits. And none of this money is fixing the things taxpayers actually care about. None of it's making your neighborhood safe. None of it's filling a single pothole. None of it's lowering your property tax bill. Instead, it's feeding a system where politicians look generous, nonprofits get comfortable, and taxpayers get stuck with the bill. So here's the real question. Should government even be in the business of picking winners and losers among 120 different nonprofits? I don't think so. And remember, this is just Hillsborough County. Florida has 67 counties. Imagine what you'd find if you dug into Pinellas, Broward, Miami-Dade, or Palm Beach. If Hillsborough's nonprofit pipeline looks like this, what do you think the other big counties are hiding? And property taxes in general have gotten so out of control in the last 5 years that finally Governor Ron DeSantis has said he's had enough.
I don't want people to be driven out of their house because of property taxes. It's ridiculous that would be happening in this state.
So DeSantis started Florida DOGE, or Department of Government Efficiency, and he appointed Florida CFO Blaise Ingoglia to run it. Blaise immediately suggested they rename it to the Florida Agency for Fiscal Oversight, or FAFO, which stands for around and find out. I love this guy. So Blaise has taken the officially named Florida DOGE to all counties and major cities in Florida. His goal is to prove that these counties have exploded their budgets in the last 5 years as property taxes have shot up from home values skyrocketing. He's showing the waste, fraud, and abuse in these county and city budgets and demanding they give that money back to taxpayers by eliminating property taxes. Here's what he's finding.
But these numbers are astounding. In Orange County alone, $190 million of this year's budget is wasteful and excessive, way past what it should be with inflation and population, right? And that's assuming that they're not running efficient. You could probably cut way more. In fact, our number for Orange County is probably closer to $230 million.
Florida DOGE put together this sheet of some of the wasteful spending they've found so far, so we can see exactly what these politicians are blowing our property tax money on. In Orange County, $223,000 for LGBT youth services that promote gender identity to youth populations. $240,000 to left-wing urban planning firm that prioritizes fair and equitable property tax practices. Should governments be spending our property tax money on this stuff? I don't think so.
The city of Jacksonville, $199 million worth of wasteful and excessive spending. I'm sorry, Donna Deegan, you're saying that you can't cut, you need every dollar. The taxpayers disagree with you.
Donna Deegan's the mayor of Jacksonville, and she spent $75,000 on a hologram projector of herself to welcome travelers at the Jacksonville airport that allegedly makes her look 20 years younger. I could have gotten her a welcome sign printed for like $50 at Kinko's.
Kinko's, good people.
Yeah.
Nice.
Bonus points if you know the name of that movie. Jacksonville also spent $7.5 million for a 1-mile sidewalk project and $1.9 million in grants to DEI-focused art groups. And remember, DEI policies are illegal because in this case, they gave the money to certain art groups and discriminated against others based on race. How about we treat everybody equally?
Hillsborough County, $278 million worth of excessive, wasteful spending.
Here's Hillsborough again, and they know how to waste some money. $572,000 for unconscious bias training and $950,000 for a county employee vehicle allowance, all on the taxpayer dime. I wonder what kind of whips they're rolling in over there.
Alachua County, $84 million.
They spent $31,000 for Planned Parenthood Teen Time designed for children as young as 13 years old.
We were in Broward yesterday unveiling their number, $189 million of wasteful and excessive spending.
They spent $890,000 on DEI training since fiscal year 2020, including pushing the gingerbread person, $175,000 to create virtual art in the metaverse. That means it doesn't exist in real life. And $44,000 to support a UN treaty on gender equity. Wait. This is a county in Florida giving taxpayer money to the United Nations? What?
All total, with just those 5 counties, we are almost $1 billion worth of the citizens of the state of Florida being overtaxed in just those 5 counties. $1 billion. Now imagine when we get to every city and every county. You can see how that number could easily be in the tens of billions of dollars.
These politicians are spending your money like you're their sugar daddy. Here's another one that's going to blow your mind.
Another example, in Orlando, they are paying almost $70,000 for hot yoga classes for employees for free.
It's good to be a county employee in Orlando. Not so good for taxpayers, though. And here's the part these counties don't want you to know. Even if property taxes on your primary home went away, counties would still be raking in property taxes from commercial properties, Airbnbs, rental houses, apartment complexes, and the second homes owned by snowbirds. DeSantis and the boys are only talking about eliminating property taxes on your primary residence. The waste that they found would more than pay for that, and Blaze is not messing around.
If you are a city or a county that is planning on putting a tax referendum raise on the ballot in November 26, expect a knock on our door from us.
Zoom in on DeSantis and check out that big smile on his face. He's loving this. These guys are both great, but Blaze isn't done yet.
If you are a county or a city that raised their millage rate a couple of weeks ago and actually raised property taxes on people this year when people are hurting, you can expect a call from our office. We are going to show the people in your cities and your counties just how much excessive waste, fraud, and abuse that you have, and then you can make the argument to your constituents why you raised taxes when people were feeling the pinch.
Listen, any politician that's not in favor of cutting waste, fraud, and abuse and eliminating property taxes on your personal house shouldn't get your vote. It's time politicians start sticking up for American citizens for once, instead of funding woke programs and giving free stuff to illegals. And these two guys are doing just that. But they can't do it on their own. They need our help. Blaze is up for election as CFO next year, so make sure you vote for this guy. He's a beast and exactly who we need fighting for us. But I'm gonna be honest, this isn't gonna be easy. Politicians got a lot to lose if property taxes go away. The first thing they're gonna say is that police, fire, and roads are all gonna suffer. That's a classic playbook. They always go straight to the public safety and infrastructure because they know those are the things people care about most. But Blaze already showed you these politicians have a spending problem, not an income problem.
Those 5 counties could have easily cut their budgets by $1 billion. Easily cut their budgets by $1 billion and never ever have to worry about funding fire, never have to worry about funding police, never have to worry about funding essential services.
Here's the thing, in politics, conflict of interest isn't some rare mistake, it's built into the system. The same people telling you property tax relief can't be done are often the same ones benefiting when nothing changes. If you've ever wondered why reform always feels out of reach, it's because too many leaders are comfortable taking advantage of the way things are. And property taxes aren't the only thing scamming Florida residents. Click here to learn how these Florida contractors are ripping off homeowners. And if you don't know what's happening or who to look out for, you could be next. Click here and I'll see you there.